By the time George Raft signed a three-picture deal with Europe's Lippert Pictures, his successful decade-long career had entered a decline. Since leaving Warner Brothers in 1942 to chart his own career course, motivated primarily by his desire not to play any more heavies, Raft had entered by choice the employ of independent producers that many of his contemporaries would soon be forced to join by the dissolution of the studio system. Without the backing and script services of the major studios, these valuable players were left to their own devices to see if they could maintain their popularity with audiences now faced with the new entertainment medium of television. While some actors, such as John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, and Glenn Ford, were lucky enough to endure, others, such as Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney, were not as fortunate. Many of their independent productions lacked the appeal of their studio films. Jack L. Warner was quoted as saying of Cagney before the errant star returned to the Warner fold to star in White Heat, "He'll find that he needs us as much as we need him." But by 1949, Raft's career was already in trouble. While some of his post-Warner films, such as Johnny Angel and Nocturne, found their audience, Raft also made films like Nob Hill and Christmas Eve that were both critically and commercially panned. Where Raft at his height was able to command a weekly salary of $5,000, his price went down as his independent movies failed to generate expected profits. As Hollywood offers also began to dry up as the decade of the 1950s began, Raft joined other ex-Hollywood stars such as Brian Donlevy and Dane Clark in making films overseas. While Raft may have been aware of the declining quality of the European scripts being offered, he also had a great fondness for Europe, particularly England, where in 1926 he had toured as a dancer and met the Prince of Wales, who had even asked Raft to give him dancing lessons, specifically Raft's specialty, the Charleston. Raft's first picture for Lippert was made following a movie he'd filmed in Italy in 1951 called Lucky Nick Kane, co-starring Colleen Gray. Following that picture, Raft had embarked on a 6-week personal appearance tour of the English provinces, where he met Bernard Luber, an executive with Lippert International Pictures, which was functioning as a low-budget production and distribution company. Raft signed with Lippert to make 3 pictures, the first of which was the 1952 crime drama Loan Shark. The movie was afforded a higher budget than most of Lippert's films, $250,000, $1.8 million adjusted for inflation, with Raft's salary exactly 10% of the production budget, $25,000, $180,000 adjusted for inflation, plus 25% of never materialized profits. Gail Russell, whose own career was on the decline due to personal problems, was originally announced as Raft's co-star, but was replaced on short notice by Dorothy Hart. Veteran movie bad guy Paul Stewart, most famous for his role as the murderer in the suspense classic The Window, played the principal villain in a film directed by Seymour Friedman. Ads for the film read, "The insight on today's most despised racket, their bait, their weapons, their price." The New York Times review of the film read, "This little picture isn't particularly hard to take." Raft, however, fared somewhat poorer. The New York Herald Tribune commented, "Someday a movie racket-buster may be found who can modulate his voice differently during a love scene and while facing the muzzle of the big boss's gat. This apparently is not one of Mr. Raft's talents." Unfortunately, the picture never showed a profit, which may well be the result of Hollywood accounting. Raft's next Lippert venture was 1953's I'll Get You, also known as Escape Route. Again directed by Seymour Friedman and co-starring Sally Gray and Clifford Evans, who would later go on to appear in horror movies for England's Hammer films, such as Curse of the Werewolf and Kiss of the Vampire. The ads for this film read, "It's loaded with screaming suspense," though Variety's review of the film called the story a routine cloak-and-dagger melodrama. Once again, Raft played the hero, FBI agent Steve Rossi. Raft's final film under his Lippert contract was also released in 1953, The Man from Cairo, directed by Ray H. Enright. The picture, filmed in Italy and North Africa, found Raft as Mike Kennelly, who was mistaken for an American detective helping French intelligence locate $100 million cache lost in the North African desert during World War II. Variety's review said, "The Man from Cairo takes all the prizes for inconsequential B productions. The story is a mass of tangled clues. However, it did accord its star a more favorable comment. Raft does his best to make something of the confusion."